the rivalry between the United States and China is probably the biggest story in my lifetime, probably the biggest development ever since the fall of the Soviet Union. And it's that story, this rivalry shapes everything with foreign policy. If you don't understand the U.S.-China rivalry right now, you barely know what's going on in terms of the decisions politicians are making, the propaganda that you see coming out from both sides, because you see anti-China rhetoric from quote-unquote anti-imperialists. Oh, we against the Iraq and Afghanistan war because we all know it was a failure. But they also for this new Cold War with China. You have people who want to go to war over Taiwan, for example. And one thing they do, and this is the headline, they would accuse China of doing everything that the United States is doing. So the United States is the biggest, most evil empire in modern human history. 800 military bases, millions upon millions dead, even hundreds of millions displaced because of U.S. imperialism. So what they say, oh no, the real threat is Chinese imperialism. Something they completely made up. So this is what they have been saying. They say, look at the Belt and Road Initiative. The Belt and Road Initiative is such a dangerous thing. You have China that is putting the African countries in a debt trap. They said it's debt trap diplomacy. It's racism on top of everything, because it's the white supremacist talking point of the smart Chinese. They go in and they are tricking the dumb monkey-like Africans. They don't know the Africans. They don't know what's good for themselves. So you got smart Chinese people. They tricking. That's literally the racist part of this.
That's the trope. Yeah, that's the trope.
Yo, hey Nick.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Let me ask you this question. All right, we all from the hood, right? Okay, so let's give it a hypothetical situation. You at your house, right? And let's say Rome is there with you at your house, and you're like, "Hey, man, we need to build a deck, on the back porch. We want to do that, and we got a couple of supplies. We don't have enough. And so you guys start building, right? And then, right, one group of dudes are like, "Hey, yo, you need some help building that deck?" You're like, "Yeah, man, we need some help. Hey, we got some extra supplies. Let's do this thing." You're like, "Okay, cool." But yet you got the other dudes on the other side of town. They strap, and they're like, "Yo, my nigga, what you doing dealing with them?" And then next thing you know, you're like, "Okay, do you guys want to help us?" And then they kick your ass, and then they steal your shit, and then you're going, "Wait, no, man, wait," and then they get on you and blame you for going for the other dudes that just want to help you out. Wait, what? It's like, does that make sense?
And then they say democracy completed, and then they leave.
Right?
That's all they do when they touch ground. It's still their oil, still their gold, still their humans.
It's amazing.
I'm gonna show you.
Go ahead.
I'll show you guys this to back up what we are now talking about. I reported this on this before, and this drives U.S. imperialists, Western chauvinists, crazy. Africans prefer China. So you have African leaders that are pushing back, which shows the declined influence of the United States, because many of the Africans wouldn't have done that in the 90s. They know who buttered their bread, right? Mm-hmm. Now they're like, "I'm not signing with you in Ukraine. Get the fuck out of here. You see what this deal I got with China?" Unlike you guys, who they point the barrel of the gun and they demand full control, and they essentially rob the people. What China's done, they build, and they had historic loan forgiveness programs. They're getting back to the story. Prefix this enough. I'll read the headline, then I can pass it to the panel again. China forgives 23 loans for 17 African countries. The IMF just bankrupt Somalia again. The IMF bankrupting African countries left and right. Bro, they're like, "Bro, we got another one. We got another one, bankrupt another country. You fucking trick these motherfuckers." Meanwhile, China forgiving loans left and right, building infrastructure. There's white people in the United States that still believe that Africa is like huts and villages, right? And I still want to go to the motherland one day because I need to learn more about it myself. But
this is the reason. This is the reason why, Nick. Sorry to cut you off. This is the reason why, Nick. This is the reason why capitalists in the CIA and all their minions that go around helping destroying socialist uprisings, communist uprisings, because communists and socialists are going to do things like this.
Yes.
This is, you see how it's going to spread, them going over there, forgiving loans, doing all this infrastructure building over there. And then they go, I'm a socialist. And they go, wait, you're a socialist? The capitalists treated us like shit. And so you get, just by comparison, people are just going to gravitate. And this is the reason why they have to always just kind of like always try to tear down socialism, because if it grows, any sort of form of it, capitalism, socialism, and it looks like this, where you're forgiving a loan like this, that is against capitalism, libertarian economics, to forgive a loan. That is against that would never do anything on that.
The real slap in the face. The real slap in the face is them saying that they still going to continue with infrastructure and plans for the future. Like, this is
right. Let me read it. It says China is forgiving 23 interest-free loans. It was already interest-free, by the way.
Yeah.
23 interest-free loans for 17 African countries after already canceling 3.4 billion and restructuring 15 billion of debt from the year 2000 to 2019. So over 19 years, you're talking about $15 billion restructured, $3.4 billion canceled completely, and then 23 forgiven altogether. That's not capitalism. You would never read a sentence and then it said, this is the result of capitalism. Ever. And this is the reason why they don't want to see this. They don't want to see this sort of alliance. Black, yellow people, brown people. Go ahead, JB.
Yo, I would love to see Sagar and Jetty and Marshall Koslov try to spin this all the way. Like they'll be like, oh my God, they actually forgave their debt, and then people go,
no, JB, I know how they will spin it. I know. I literally read so many stories. They will say China unveils new nefarious plot to get African country closer in its grips.
Yes,
they will say something like that all the time. Like,
that's what they would say.
China was trying to deal with Uganda or something. Then there would be a news story like China exploiting Uganda. How Chinese businessmen are looking to exploit the Ugandan people. You read the story; they just got an infrastructure deal.
Right? You have to understand, and they describe it exactly correctly in their propaganda. They say, listen carefully to the words they say. China is a great threat to U.S. interests, and the average layperson is doing what? They're about to do what? They're attacking us. We're in trouble. They're talking about money. They're talking about capital. Yes. That's what they're talking about. U.S. interest is capital and capitalism. But the average person thinks it's freedom and democracy, and they leave that gap in understanding in the wording so you can feel your own understanding in there.
True. And the question is, they never ask, are U.S. interests good or bad? Nobody ever asked that question.
Never.
And never asked that. We know they're bad.
And let me read a couple of more paragraphs of this. The Chinese government has announced that it is forgiving 23 interest-free loans for 17 countries while pledging to deepen its collaboration. This is what you were saying, Rome, right? Pledging at the same time. They're not even canceling the relationship. They're pledging to deepen its collaboration with the continent. This is in addition to China's cancellation of more than 3.4 billion in debt and restructuring. I said that part already. Let's move on a little bit more. While Beijing has reported a repeated history of forgiving, has a repeated history of forgiving loans like this, Western governments have made baseline political motivated accusations that China using debt trap diplomacy in the global south. The United States has turned Africa into a battleground in its new Cold War on China and Russia, and Washington has weaponized dubious claims of China's death trap to try to demonize Beijing for its substantial infrastructure project on the continent. That speaks to what you were saying, Nick. Anybody want to chime in, or I can read on a little bit? Now, this is from Multipolarista, which is Ben Norton's website. He also has a video. I was gonna do, or maybe this is a SoundCloud. Yeah, this is SoundCloud. This is audio. So if you wanted to hear him kind of talk about the subject, go and check that out. He covers it very good. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah. Ben does good work on China. Multipolarista, friend of the show. We was gonna schedule something soon, but then we couldn't schedule. But we're gonna have him back on the show here soon, probably to discuss this as well. But I want to bring this story up because I want to give you guys a reaction to it because it's related to China, and this also relates to what you say, CJ, because just how China does things differently than we do. Like they would, like our country would just never forgive debt, right? So I want to show you guys this story.
We still got student loan debt.
That's true. That's true.
Student loan debt. They refuse to cancel student loan debt in this country, and we got a nerve to, and capitalists have the nerve to criticize China, right? And meanwhile, the PPP loans, they've forgiven those, so we can't get student loan forgiveness, but they'll forgive the PPP loans that they give to capitalists. Like, it's incredible.
They rewrote laws to avoid jail or any kind of process. Like that shit was weird. What went down with Nancy Pelosi and her husband. Man.
I'm glad you brought that up, Rome. I'm glad, because that's literally prefaces the story perfectly. You have Congress people, insider trading. You have Wall Street people. People have no idea the crimes in 2008, and we still don't know what they really did in 2020. We won't know a few years later because it wasn't exposed till later. Like the real forging of documents, them literally illegally foreclosing on people's homes, them illegally charging people higher interest rates than they signed up. Like, it was criminal behavior, and they got away with it because Barack Obama put Eric Holder. He came from Wall Street as the Attorney General. We all know from WikiLeaks, Barack Obama's entire cabinet was selected by Wall Street and Goldman Sachs. So they like, hey, Barack Obama, we helped you win, bro. You owe us one. We got a great idea for Attorney General. We got a great idea. We got this guy named Eric Holder.
He's black. He's black man.
First black Attorney General. Literally let these people off. Let so many of these fraudsters. Steve Mnuchin was famous. Kamala Harris let him off. Billionaires committing insane financial crimes. Look at how they roll in China, guys. They have this billionaire, and China has executed. They said Chinese business people to prison, and that's what this guy has done. And I'm horrible with Chinese names. I think that's Zhao Jianha, but you guys know. You guys can. I know I'm butchering it, but this is a Chinese billionaire, Chinese Canadian tycoon. Look, CJ, you know how we do on propaganda report, guys. When they talk about American businessmen, do they ever call Bill Gates a tycoon?
Hell no.
What the fuck is a tycoon? Because Bill Gates,
billionaire Bill Gates,
tycoon. They all, whenever they talk about Russian billionaires, Chinese billionaires, they always a tycoon, oligarch. I can't help but point that out, because even report on this, CNN is hurt, and you can tell by the language. It is really funny. So they sentenced this billionaire to 13 years in prison because of his financial crimes. And look at this. More than 5 years after the billionaire was abducted from a hotel room.
What?
You mean arrested? Hey, CJ, imagine if we was arrested. Imagine the cop pulled you over in the New York Times headline, CJ abducted by the LAPD. What? You mean a billionaire committed a crime and he was arrested? Is that what you saying, CNN? That's why I love reading. I literally enjoy reading these articles now that I know how propaganda. I know the propaganda they do. So I'm like, damn, they're doing it again. There it is again. Damn, they can't even do it. They can't even write a paragraph, right? So I'll just read a little bit so you guys get the gist of it. But the reason why this story is funny, because I just pulled the CNN article up, but they use this as an opportunity to say, look at how authoritarian China is. They said, China, look at this authoritarian country. They are actually prosecuting their billionaires.
Yo, they're doing exactly what we wanted them to do in 2008. Like, wait, so that means that all of us that want to do that in 2008, you mean to tell me that all the American people are also authoritarian because we wanted to prosecute the billionaires to actually put us in this mess?
Yes, see,
JB. If that makes me an authoritarian, well then sign me up, I guess, because I want to prosecute all the billionaires too.
I wish I bookmarked this article, but I remember one of the articles like this sets a dark precedent as China was very secretive in them targeting this billionaire. Was it for political reasons? We would never know. Like they just cast him down. At
what cost?
China's going after billionaires, but at what cost? Guys, for real, the mainstream media headlines and the way they've been covering this story, which is 100% based, has been hilarious. I can only pull the CNN one up, but it has been hilarious. That's why I'm sure the way that capitalism has been dismayed. Remember, China is a country that has over 2 times more people than us, over 1 billion people. Man. Yet somehow they have less people in prison than us. But they're the police state. You know what the people they do go after? They're going after the billionaires. This is what a dictatorship of the proletariat would do, going after the billionaires. And the way the mainstream media has been writing this has been glorious. If you guys have time, look it up. Type the dude's name in and pick any mainstream media article. They're like, Chinese abducted this guy. Oh, did he really have a fair trial? The Chinese legal system is corrupt.
And yet, the people who are from Purdue Pharma, who actually managed to kill hundreds of thousands of people because of their drugs, they just got a fine, even though they create OxyContin, right. And they literally, made a whole bunch of people addicted to, OxyContin, and they killed a whole bunch of people. And yet somehow we can't put them in prison because that'd be authoritarian.
But locking your ass up for a bag of weed, that's justifiable.
Giving people life sentences for weed, and yet people at Purdue Pharma, they're still running scot-free. They're still frolicking scot-free.
Let me read this story because China has been on, and Ben Norton actually does a good job breaking this down too. The anti-corruption, because all states have issues. China is in a position where they instituting market socialism, because that's a transition to communism. And there was a lot of corruption issues, and they are tackling that head on now. The same way they are tackling the climate issue. China has reduced their pollution more over the last 7 years than the United States has done in decades. So China, people are like, oh my God, you guys apologize for China. Look, what about this problem? Yes, almost every single situation you can look at China trying to improve a problem. They're not perfect, but they are trying to improve it. Corruption was in China. Well, I think you can still say corruption still is a problem if you want to say that. Yeah, but China is trying to clean up these corrupt oligarchs, unlike what we are doing in this country. Right. Remember the scenario I laid out earlier why people distrust this government? People distrust our government because the oligarchs are more powerful than the government, not the other way around. People don't distrust the government because it's too powerful. They distrust the government because they know an oligarch is telling the government what to do. Now look at China. The oligarchs are afraid of the government in China. This is what we want. So let me read this part. I'll get you guys take, because this last part I really got to read so you guys understand at least the baseline of the story here. Zhao and his company Tomorrow Holdings were convicted of crimes involving tens of billions of dollars. U.S. oligarchs are like, some change compared to the shit they stole. But anyway, including illegally absorbing public deposits, same thing Wall Street did, betraying the use of entrusted property. I'll be honest, I don't really know what that means, to be honest. But anyway, the illegal use of funds and bribery. You mean lobbying?
Right. You went to Americans.
They sent them up in prison based on what every other capitalist does in this country. I got a good look. Maybe someone in chat can tell me, what did this one mean? This is based on the market socialist. When I was looking this up, the market socialist principle China, they were very vague on the prosecution, but this is him gaming the system the same way Wall Street gamed the system when they was illegally foreclosed on people's homes. Like this, it's a long explanation. I probably gotta read more about it, but I gotta look up what this one is, but pretty much he was involved in deep corruption, financial fraud, the same way you see financial institutions in Wall Street. And China had enough, and they put this motherfucker in prison. Took it not only they sent him in prison for 13 years, they seized his assets. In the United States, even when they would make big headline like, "Oh my God, Wall Street executives charged, we slapped him with a fine of $1 million." What? That motherfucker worth $2 billion. They were like, we charged this Wall Street institution $1 billion, even though they made $15 billion during their fraud. But they were like, no, we taking six. They taking what amounts to $8.1 billion in US from I think it was. I'm trying to find the overall worth. It's like 80% of the total value they find them of. But anyway, that's a story. Anything you guys want to add, and we can move on to the next.
Yeah, I just don't like. That's why I never take anything, Americans in leadership, what they have to say about China serious. Like, even some of these motherfuckers be on Twitter with their Twitter fingers talking about, oh well, they got these people locked up in concentration camps. I'd be like, maybe you want to clean your own backyard before you say some shit like that, right? Or like all this shit is just deflection, And they really seeing. That's what I was talking about. A week or so, 2 weeks ago, that America is really seeing. The leaders are really seeing the downfall of their empire, and they are giving it they're giving it their all. They send in as much money as they can.
It's a Hail Mary. It's a Hail Mary.
Yeah, it's a Hail Mary. And in a minute, we're gonna see American troops in Ukraine fighting against Russia.